Why was the decision made to make the school co-ed? Other parents is to a fairly traditional school going co-ed.
Well, I've asked the parents of the primary school and primary school children, and they seem quite happy about it. After all, most of the small girls do have brothers, and those who don't are always interested in the boy next door anyway. And we've had quite a good reaction from the parents of primary children.
I take it these students themselves are in favour?
I think so. They all seem to mill along very happily. We have 8 small boys already. It's almost a football team.
Do you think it'll be long in coming before it'll be co-ed all the way through?
I think co-education in the secondary school is a very different thing. It's would make very much of a change in the philosophy of the school. At the moment, we're not contemplating it.
Not for the near future, anyhow?
Not for the near future, no.
Well, the Dean didn't want me as his assistant for various reasons, and the Bishop said there was no other post available in the diocese, and so that was it. What I said in my sermon was that I felt, it was my opinion, that one of the motives in the Bishop's action was my outspokenness on some matters in the diocese over the last few years, and I thought that he would be rather happy, I think, if I left the diocese. I must say that he's kindly looking for a job for me outside the diocese at the moment, but I don't think that's very likely, at least in the church.
Not very likely that you'd accept it, or...?
I don't think it's very likely one would be available, and I think I'd prefer in many ways to stay in Newcastle. I like the city, I like the people, and so that would mean taking up an ordinary job if there's a job available, you know, because things are rather tight at the moment.
Is there any likelihood that the decision will be reversed before December the 28th?
Well, I don't know. That's up to the Bishop. There is a possibility that we might have a look at the legal situation. Some of my friends are urging that, but I haven't made any decision about that at the moment. What I don't want to do is to cause a lot of trouble at the cathedral or to divide the cathedral congregation. But I think it was important to at least say that I had been dismissed and not to pretend otherwise, and I think I had a right to say what I thought were the reasons.
Would this sort of thing have happened in any other diocese in the world?
Oh, it's possible it could, but I think, you know, certainly overseas in England, where I've worked for quite a number of years, I don't think it would happen at all. You know, I think there's far more maturity in the church. Outspokenness is just taken for granted, you know, that people do have different opinions. And I think if any good comes out of this at all, it will be that there might be a bit more freedom of expression and freedom to criticise and to share views in the Diocese of Newcastle.
It has, yes. I'd like to take the opportunity, if I may, to thank all the people of Newcastle, and particularly the Secretary of the Newcastle Trades and Labour Council, Keith Wilson, for all the help that he's given us, and he's surely bled with us all the way. And Dr. Cairns, of course, too.
You wanted 200,000, didn't you? What did you get? Did they lose any money on it, or were they getting their money back, or what?
Well, we're asking all the shareholders to come to the bank at Mayfield, the Commonwealth Bank at Mayfield, at 2 p.m. on Monday, and to receive their money back.
Particular areas, say within a couple of miles of a spring addition. Now, I think that's quite significant in the division. As you know, Australia's divided into...
I don't know what they're going to do.
Together, will ya?
The police investigations into the drug ring will involve a great number of people in the Cessnock and Curry areas. Already 20 young people have been charged or released in the custody of their parents to appear in court at a later date, and police say their investigations are far from over. The investigation is on a typical drug ring situation with pushers, distributors and young people who have had to steal sometimes to get the money for their drugs. And the drugs involved are not just marijuana. They are amphetamines, Amatil and sometimes LSD. Police say that some of the people they have questioned were totally dependent on the drugs. One girl was actually reduced almost to the state of a vegetable. She was just 15. The number of people charged or questioned so far in the investigation have not come from any particular group. They are just young people between the ages of 16 and 24. Why have such a large proportion of young people in the close-knit community of Cessnock and Curry turn to the drug scene? I put that question to the Mayor of Cessnock, Alderman R.J. Brown.
I wouldn't be convinced, Chris, necessarily that there was a higher proportion in the coalfields than anywhere else. It may be that as a result of these recent developments, the discovery rate has been greater, but I've got no reason to believe that it's necessarily higher than elsewhere.
Alderman Brown, will Council be considering this situation and possibly looking at things it can do to alleviate the situation?
I'll be interested, Chris, to see any reports which arise out of these developments, and certainly if there is the possibility that Council may be involved, consideration will certainly be given to it. I think at the same time it's necessary not only in our community here but in communities generally for the adult communities to give very serious consideration to the types of facilities and amenities that are being provided for young people at the present time. There is a deficiency. Social clubs exist for adults. We don't have anything comparable for young people. As a result of television, picture theatres have closed down. As a result of the changing trends of custom among young people, dances start and dances fall away. There is this problem of being able to involve young people in constructive leisure time activities, not only in Greater Cessnock.
Now, is something like this happening now, though, when at least 20 people charged so far? Isn't that statement like shutting the gate after the horses got out?
Well, Chris, I suppose people never really become aware of problems until they're confronted with them, and of course this is the situation that we find ourselves in at the present time. I doubt whether there's very much really at the local level that can be done about this problem. It's a national problem.
Is this isthmus of water, if you can say an isthmus of water, isthmus of water that comes in here.
Covered in water.
On the dry land. Too complicated. Sorry, that's not correct. The report of the inquiry has all that inquiry.
Are you delighted or a bit worried that the directorship of a gallery falls in your lap this way?
Murray, when you get a job like this offered to you, you've got all sorts of feelings, I find. Certainly I'm worried, apprehensive, delighted. pleased. There are all sorts of adjectives that I could use. It's going to take a day or so to sort it out. Why should we compete with the Art Gallery of New South Wales with their much bigger purchasing power and try and develop the same sort of gallery? It's something that we will certainly be looking at.
Do you think that this is the trend that regional galleries will take in New South Wales?
Well, I think with the escalating costs of paintings and running galleries, this is one of the things that we've got to think about. Certainly think.
Bishop, distinguished guests, members of the prisoners, perhaps to acknowledge that it is
we needed both. And they both made a tremendous contribution. We are provided with the authority by the Department of Education and the Public Service. But now we go to an era in which the college will have a council, and the council will be the employing authority, and they will make the decisions. And these people on the stage are the people who will be responsible for the future of this college. The senior staff and the council. They must work together. And what I have to say finally, the one thing I wish to see preserved. And I know it's a terrible place, ladies and gentlemen, please forgive me for it. When I gave this college a motto so long ago, Jim Stain said to me, Sydney will laugh about that. They'll think it's so highfalutin. But he said it's all worthwhile. Yes, the motto was not chosen lightly. Education is the one hope of the world. Without education, it would take just one generation for us to go back to barbarism. That's all it would take. Education can mean, but it must also serve a purpose. If its purpose is not to seek out the goodness that is in man, the goodness that is in mankind, and develop it, and make it grow, so that men know they must learn to work together, to share, to assist one another, to plan together, to build a better world, then the education we have is useless. The only value in this is to make the world we live in and the society we serve better for our children. And that I hope the college will always remember.
Our guest this evening is Mr. Clary Willoughby, the new Area Director of Education for the Newcastle District. Mr. Willoughby, what would you describe as the basis of your educational thinking?
Chris, in the situation of the administrator, shall we say, of the area, I wouldn't want to perhaps traverse the whole field of my educational philosophy, but only as it's related to this area at the moment, and my initial essay into the administration of it. I'm I base my thinking on two major, quite self-evident and related propositions, and the first of them, of course, is that the teacher is absolutely basic to the success of any educational system, that everything depends upon the quality of the teacher, not only his capacity as a teacher, but of course his attitudes towards the task, which relate, of course, to the level of his confidence in his capacity to carry out his duties, his confidence in the administration, and it's quite clear that any system will be entirely dependent for its success on the capacity and ability and attitude of the teachers concerned, so that the administration really is an organisation to facilitate the operation of the teacher.
Well, the Newcastle area is certainly undergoing great changes in the education system at the moment, and you have stepped into the hot seat right in the middle of this process. Can you give us some idea of how you plan to tackle the problems of the changes in the Newcastle system?
Well, I think that the change that is uppermost in most people's minds at the present time is that which is associated with the inner city high schools. And that is a process of conversion, of course, from a selective high school system into a comprehensive co-educational system. And this has, of course, many well-known advantages, and I won't bother going into the advantages of those at the present time. But it is very important, I think, that people understand all of that. You know, there's an impression abroad that in some quarters that we're boarding children at various schools at this time. Now that's just simply not the case. You see, the girls, for example, who are at Cook's Hill are still functioning there as a school, but the pupils who are this year, that's 1975, in the first and second forms in 1975, will move in 1976 to what is now Tech High as the second and third form girls of that school, and move over as a group and form the basis of the co-educational system. So they're not really boarding at Cook's. Cook's Hill is still going on, and exactly the same applies to the situation at Waratah.
You have boarded the education change bus in Newcastle in midstream, so to speak. Are you happy with the planning and operation so far?
Oh, I think the planning has been excellent, really. There's a splendid basis to move. It's a very difficult exercise because you first of all have to create the room in which to move, and then, of course, there's a need to change and convert and add to existing schools, because the schools, obviously, who have been exclusively girls' schools, wouldn't have facilities for specialist boys' subject. They wouldn't even have boys' toilets. But there's more to it than that. And this is one of the reasons, of course, the major reason why we're using the annex this year from the Newcastle High, because of the need to free a substantial portion of that school for the necessary conversions. But this is an interim measure, and we'll move through, of course, and occupy that full school complex. That is the coalescence of Hunter girls and Newcastle girls to become the Newcastle High School.
One of the other issues which is mainly in the minds of parents and, of course, children is the community involvement issue. Where does that stand at the moment?
This has been a very interesting exercise, a very interesting essay to test public opinion and indeed teacher opinion, and you know probably, Chris, that we've had two papers issue. One is known as the White Paper and the other is the Green Paper on community involvement. There's been a great deal of public discussion, a tremendous number of submissions and reactions that in some cases were quite strong anti-reactions from some quarters. As a result of all this consideration, we still have a situation where it is obviously quite desirable for the community concerned with a particular school to be more closely involved in the operation of the school. Now, probably one of the factors here that worry people is whether the involvement will be the interested involvement, which most schools do have at this time, or whether some group is to be established in the community to step in and take over some facets of the governance of a school. And that seems to be a bone of great contention. There isn't any intention to establish any group which will take over the governance of a school, although in the fullness of time, with experience, and we haven't had experience with really formal councils at school, this may take place. But at the present, it's quite clear that during 1975 there will be meetings held at all schools for the parent body to meet and decide whether it wishes to establish a school council.
Mr. Willoughby, thank you very much. Our guest this evening has been Mr. Clary Willoughby, the new Area Director of Education.
And it is my privilege and pleasure to introduce to you the Prime Minister of Australia, Mr. Gough Whitlam. It began that we march forward together. We serve the public together.
Harry, why have you decided to retire from the theatre?
Well, it's not retiring, I'm just moving on. I really am very interested in motion pictures, and I want to get into it properly.
To take it on tour?
Oh, two reasons. One is that I'm very greedy and I need the money. The other one is that only Sydney and Melbourne saw it. We had to just change the production a bit. We've taken out that sort of petal thing, and we've put in a quite brilliant plastic perspex stage that lights up in all colours. But everything else is there. But it's going from here to New Zealand for 4.5 months, and then finally around the west of Australia with the same boy that was playing Jesus in Sydney, Trevor White, same boy is playing Judas. Many of the cast the same musical director, few new costumes, but from the same designer. And I think it'll be quite amazing.
Well, from Superstar, what next for you?
Motion pictures.
Any particular ones in mind?
Yeah, well, of course, we've got two things that we've got going that we're really getting stuck into now. One is Patrick White's Book of Voss, and the other one is a film of Jim Sharman's father. He's the boy that directed Superstar, but his father had that boxing troupe for
yes.
nearly 100 years. And we've done half of the film, and Jim's coming back next year to finish it off. But I feel if I don't stop the theatre, I'll never really get properly into movies, and I must do that.
The alligator having other thoughts. Come on, come on! Pull! He's going over!
Paul, it looks as though you came off second best in this wrestling match.
I won the bout, but I'm still injured, yeah.
How did you get the injuries?
I think when I hit my head on there once, and then I scraped on the pool, you know, when I was rolling over in the pool, got my legs, and my head hit the side here, the wires, you know.
And the match was fair dinkum, was it?
As far as I'm concerned, yeah.
Are you going to do anything like this again?
I don't know, I'll have to think about it.
And what were your thoughts going through your mind when you were actually wrestling this alligator?
I just wanted to get him on his back and get it finished with.
At any stage did you think that the alligator was getting on top of you?
Well, you've got to be very careful of him. I'm lucky in one respect, there was a cold day today. A warmer day, he gets more vicious.
Well, it's a fascinating experience to say the least, probably a tremendous experience. They were a credit to us all, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. As you can hear from my voice, we've all done a fair amount of talking. And
like that yodeling in Switzerland.
Yeah. It's no singing waltzing Matilda with the Swiss yodelers that comes from. But it was a tremendous experience, and I'm very happy to have gone through it, and I'm sure Eric and Frank is too.
I feel dissatisfied because...
Specific allegations or whatever do you have against the council?
I don't wish to make allegations. I just mention one thing. Recently, at a band, orchestra and theatre committee, it was agreed to set aside a contingency of $1,000 in the next budget to further the campaign to set the orchestra up. Now, at this stage, and after the project having been running for about a year, it's about time the City Council were considering $50,000 as a contingency should the orchestra get going in '76.
Do you think it will?
It is my aim, my determined aim, that it will give its first series of concerts this coming year.
Do you think that is a definite possibility, though, or is it just your aim?
My aim and the definite possibility are one and the same thing. I'm a little bit tired of being told to present a report, or my committee being told to present a report on such and such a move, which must receive approval from that particular committee. Then it gets transferred to the City Council for their approval, and if we're lucky, the thing is okayed. Now, at this particular point, the City Council should be rallying and giving all the help it can. Having said that, I also want to point out that there are a large number of people on the City Council who are offering all the support they can.
it's a worrying report, Graham, because some of the beach inspectors and the pool attendants are finding that their job, they're continually looking after little children that have been left at the pool by their parents, sometimes on their own or in the care of an older brother and an older sister, and of course they go off swimming and depend on the pool attendants or the inspectors or other people sometimes to make sure that they don't drown, and it does make it a heavier burden on the pool attendants and the inspectors. It's not their job.
So obviously for you to get a report, there's got to be a problem.
Oh yes, it's a major problem. The report says it's a major problem.
What can be done about it? You're a mum who's had 4 youngsters. What advice would you give to mothers who let their youngsters go off to pools more or less unattended?
Well, I think they take a risk. I really do, even trusting the older brother and sister, as I say. They take a risk by doing that, because there are times when people aren't always available to watch over them, and therefore you have a tragedy on your hands.
Well, there you have it. As the Lord Mayor says, unattended children at swimming pools and baths have become a problem. Mr Morris Burns, for the last 21 years, has been here at the Ocean Beach swimming pool and beach as the supervisor, and he says too that it's a problem that he's become very aware of.
The biggest danger is perhaps a young girl, a high school girl, 12 or 13, the mother, you go to the beach and mind little Joey or whoever it is, and while they're there they see a good looking surfer, so they go for a little bit of a walk round to the beach, and now tell the little one, now you stop here until I come back, because I'll only be a few minutes, but sometimes it gets a little bit longer than a few minutes. And the only danger is they could wander and fall in the bath.
So it must be a strain on you, being supervisor, to have little children to look after when there's nobody else around.
Oh yes, it's covered by law actually. The Local Government Act provides that children of tender years must not be left unattended in the baths.
Oh, well, I think it covers us a lot better than we have been covered. We haven't known what to sell and what not to sell if we did stock it, not that we did handle very much of it.
How much confusion arose out of that?
Oh, a considerable amount. I mean, people just couldn't, well, the public as well as us ourselves just couldn't understand what publications they were able to read without having to come in and ask for them underhand, or just how to
You
go
were
about
prosecuted once before, weren't you?
Yes, that's right.
That sort of a bit scary?
Rather. Yes, it was, yes. It made us very, very careful, you know, after that.
Can you see yourself losing business now because you've got to put certain books under shelves?
I don't think so.
Have you had any comment at all from anybody coming in?
Well, the main comment's been from regular customers, more in a joking manner. I want some of those books you've got under the counter, kind of. That's been the main.
But really you're quite happy to see this new law come in because it does give you some standards to go by.
Yes, yes.
Major, a few hours left. Must be a sad day for you.
It is quite sad when we think of the people that we've been able to help through the year by giving them furniture and clothing when they have been in need, and also the men that have worked here and we've been able to keep them occupied in a happy way. It's quite sad to think that we have to suspend operations.
Is there really a need in Newcastle for a place such as this?
Yes, I would say so. When you consider the unemployment situation, on that basis alone, people have their backs to the wall financially. The unmarried mother or the single mother, the mother without a supporting husband, is a real problem in the community.
What, in Newcastle?
In Newcastle, yes. This is probably the group that lean on us for support more than any other group in the community.
So you've helped a lot of people. Where are these people going to go now when you leave?
Well, I guess Smith Family, St Vincent de Paul and Lifeline and these other organisations will close the gap, but nevertheless there's a need for all of us.
Where do you think you'll set up shop again?
I'd only be guessing on that one.
Well, throughout the years, throughout the world, the Salvation Army has always helped a lot of people. Now you've got nowhere to go, so it would be nice if someone somewhere had a factory close by that wasn't using it, perhaps.
The general public are really our shareholders, and they've supported us well in the past, and I'm sure that we've got friends out there that probably have a little clue as to what we can do about this problem.
My truck's there for 14 days. It'll never be shipped until that section's up.
Aren't you getting a little long in the tooth to be driving around in a modern vehicle?
I don't think so, because I like driving and I don't feel nothing as far as medical is concerned. And I think myself, while a man's like that, if he's 85, he can still drive.
And you're in perfect health?
I'm in perfect health in front of any doctor.
And you've been driving for a jolly long time?
I've been driving for a jolly long time, since 1922. That's neither 54 or 55 years.
Well, the other night when you were picked up for having a schooner of beer, how much damage did you do to the other vehicles?
Well, the other vehicle, I just went back, it was a very narrow road, and I just went back enough to not mark it, one, and made two little dinges in the other. And I put my truck there until the police come, and they done from there on.
Do you feel as though you were given a rough deal in court yesterday?
I do not. I think I got a first-class deal. I thought well of the magistrate and all the other constables, especially the sergeants of Adamstown. He was like a father to me.
What do you think about the drinking driver?
I think drinking drivers, I think a man that really drinks, he shouldn't be behind the wheel.
Well, this is actually the right age for them to learn to swim, and I think the clinic that they're having for the 2 days is going to be very beneficial for all the children that are taking part in it, Noel.
There's more ways of it being beneficial, safety. It's great to know what you can do in the water.
Yes, I think this is a great idea, and you know, it's good, I think, for Newcastle people that they've gone ahead and started something like this in a clinic, because I think probably it's the first thing that's ever happened in New South Wales anyway. And not only can you teach give them stroke corrections and tell them little things about swimming that they miss, such as their hands being together and their fingers being closed, and the proper way to pull underneath the water so that they move the whole body through the water much easier, and it's not so tiring then.
What is the apprenticeship position in Newcastle?
In regard to employment?
Yes, offering and being accepted.
There has been a downturn, as you would indicate, as indicated by recent press reports. We are hoping that in the ensuing year, particularly in the building industry, that more jobs will become available within that industry, and there will be an increase in the number of apprenticeships, particularly in June.
Well, now, how about the boys offering? Are there or are there not as many offering for apprenticeships?
I'm advised by the committee in which I'm involved that there is any amount of boys offering for apprenticeships.
Well, how about the employers? Are they taking them on or not?
Well, this depends upon economic factors. The government is doing, I consider, a good effort in encouraging apprenticeships by offering this $1,250 a year subsidy for a boy in the first year of apprenticeship.
Why is it that there aren't as many apprenticeships being offered?
Well, there again, I think it comes back to that there has been a worldwide downturn in economic activity, and Australia and Newcastle, similar to many places, has experienced this fact of life.
Oh, late yesterday evening. I'd say it'd be 9:30, round about.
No idea where they came from?
No, wouldn't have a clue.
How did you discover them?
By the dog barking. I went around the yard and I found the panel out of the front fence there, and these cows were laying there. I thought it was asleep. They were asleep too, asleep for good.
Well, what have they been, dragged in here, shot here? What do you think?
I wouldn't have any idea. No idea whatsoever. They've been shot. We can see that by the bullets in the heads.
And you haven't honestly got a clue who owns them, where they come from?
We've had a lot of people here having a look at them, but nobody seems to own them.
What have the police told you?
Police haven't had much to say about it. They've had a look and they've probably got their ideas about it, but they're bringing other people back to have a look at them, the vets and so forth, and they haven't been yet.
Would you happen to look upon this as perhaps a threat to yourself?
Oh, I don't think so. Not in my game. I've got too many friends around. I know everybody around the countryside.
Yeah, but, you know, if you mix in union circles and all that, I'm not suggesting a thing, but I'm just looking at it.
I've heard of this going on, but I don't think it'll happen. Not to us boys.
Well, I think we know most of what is going on in the States particularly. What I want to do is to confirm many points of view that we have at the present time, and to look at the specific and detailed implementation of some of these schemes, particularly as they relate to a pay-for-use situation.
Can you see that this could be introduced into our circumstances here, paying for the water you actually use?
Well, I believe so for the last 35 years. I think it can be introduced. I don't think the time was right prior to the present time. I think at the present time, with a much more equitable distribution of monies by way of wages and salaries, I think the situation is ripe for a commodity type approach to the supply of water and serious services.
Do you think this would have a conserving effect on water if people actually had to pay for what they used?
Oh, well, this is one of the great features of any substantially pay-for-use situation. People will tend to be more conscious of the water they use, and there will be a conservation. And this in turn, of course, pays dividends by not requiring headworks as often as they are required at the present time.
I heard an explosion. I looked out of the window, the flames coming right towards here. So I raced out, I got the family out, and that was it. So we fought a fire. That's what's happened.
What did you do once you heard the explosion?
Well, I raced out straight away. I seen everything in flames. It was red raw. So we got towels and racks and tried to get the fire out. Oh, it was bad. It was red raw, everything. Just the flames shoot up, and I didn't panic. My husband panicked, but I didn't.
That's the phone line burned through there, isn't it?
Everything is... well, the phone was out of order, and the police come back early hours and let me know they've been interviewing some people. So he said it would be very wise just to go and cut the things off. I worried. See, I touched it and electricity come out, so we got the scissors and he was with us, and my husband cut the wire. And that
you had to go and find the police, didn't you, because you couldn't ring
Yeah,
them?
well, my daughter went round a Bollaroo, and they thought it's a great joke, most probably. Because they wouldn't believe it. They said it's hard to believe that anything can happen in the area here like that.
Where's that? Graham Guy from Channel 3. Who could I get a comment from about the allegations of the...
Well, there's no one here at the moment.
And that's pretty much how it's been today. First off, the Maitland Police Station, where I was told that the man looking after the case, Detective Sergeant Kelly, was in fact in Sydney for the day. Then to the Maitland Jail, where once again I was met with a wall of silence. No one knew about prisoners allegedly cutting the hamstring muscles of other prisoners. Neither the acting governor or the superintendent of the jail were available for comment. Anyway, the jail superintendent, Mr. Fern, was on a day off. So whether or not there are, in fact, prisoners inside this jail carrying leg injuries isn't going to be an easy story to find out.
Oh, this rain actually has been a great blessing for the wine industry around the Hunter Valley. Things were getting very dry. Despite that rainfall during the Christmas period, we've noticed that conditions again have been drying out, and we have needed more rainfall. The half inch to inch and a half that we've had spread up and down the length of the valley has done the wine industry the world of good. Conditions were getting, as I said, exceedingly dry, and now this rainfall will just cap off the rainfall that we had around about the Christmas period.
So since it started you've had about an inch and a half. Do you need any more?
Not now. Vintage is not too far away. In point of fact, vintage should be starting within the next week.
So if you do have more, mould could set in?
Well, we will start to have troubles with moulds and fungi problems generally with our wine grapes unless we do get this nice fine dry weather that we're experiencing today for the duration of the vintage period.
Well, Mr. Kay, if it does stay fine until the end of March, how do you see production then?
It should be a very good vintage this year. Our production is going to be up on last year by some 1,500 tonnes, and it is all shaping up to be an exceptionally good vintage.
We have from Noel from America, Dick Falkins and Harold Esk. From Papua New Guinea, Bob Henderson and Ozzie Dent. England, Bob Robertson and Tom Fleming. Scotland, John McAtee and John McRae. Wales, Lynn Probert and Peter Bailey. From Canada, Bruce Matthewson and Ron Jones. New Zealand, Vic Sellers and Bob McDonald.
Bill, all those players by their own right are great players. Some have, and in fact all, have represented their country in some way or other, and some have even won gold medals at Olympic Games and Commonwealth Games.
This is right. You'll find that the records of them, when checked through, give us a wonderful line-up. And this line-up should give us the best bowls we've ever seen in Newcastle, if not in Australia.
Now, Bill, we also have players coming from each of the states and our own local bowlers. Could you quickly run through those?
Yes, from Newcastle we have our own pair, which is Barry Salter and Kenny Porter, both champions in their own right. From the ACT we have Ken Woods and Ken Williams. And then from the other states going down, you'll find that we have Jim Cross and Chloe Watkins from New South Wales. From Victoria, Duncan Taylor and John Snell. South Australia, Verdon Hamlin and Des Moran. Western Australia, Joe Reardon and Bert Sharp. From Queensland, we have C. Daminier and Martin Hogan. They're from the top end of Queensland. From Tasmania, we have Eric Morse and Jeff Robinson.
And the starting date at Kahaiba Bowling Club?
22nd of March, going through till the 27th.
Claude, Star Alto could start favourite. This be a big thing in its favour?
I don't know if it's in his favour, but I suppose he will be.
Fit enough?
Very fit.
And what are you hoping for, a front-running race or coming from behind, Claude?
Just anywhere with them, I'll be happy. Get close up to them.
Vince, you've already won one heat of the intercity pace. You know what it's all about. Final Lord will be certainly pushing Star Alto for favouritism. How are your feelings about the race?
Well, I hope he wins it. Like, he's a good horse. He's had no luck on the turns. Like, he can't seem to handle the turns at the moment. But tomorrow night, I hope, well, we've sorted things out a bit better and we can get round him a lot quicker.
What about running from the front or anything like that?
Yes, well, he's a good horse in front or in behind, like, you know. He's been caught in the death both times at the moment, but he's all right when he's out there. As soon as he went to the paint, well, he just couldn't handle the turns going at the speed.
Claude, if there's any rain about, does this affect Star Alto?
No, heavy rain he doesn't like it, but I think he'll go just the same.
And have you got any other one in mind that might be a bit of a danger?
Oh, they've all qualified to be dangers, but no, not particular.
And Star Alto's performance to get into the intercity pace final?
Very good, and I'm very pleased with him.
Did he win two or?
Two. Two heats.
And what about wet weather for Final Lord?
Heavier the better.
And you'll...
He loves the mud.
Well, the Shortland County Council decided to become its own insurer under the Workers' Compensation Act because the premiums were far too high, became far too high. Within 12 months, the cost of premiums have leaped from $160,000 to $620,000. And this extra cost had to be carried by the council. It was too much, and it was too much, just too much.
Well, if you become your own insurer, how much are you going to save?
Well, the council have employed a well-known man in Mr. Ted Bucknell, and he has been appointed by the county council to work on the workers' compensation as a workers' compensation consultant. The council and we expect his advice to be very valuable to the council. He used to be with Edward Lumley. The council will now carry its own insurance cover for injuries to employees on the job or going to and from work. We have been granted a licence for the Workers' Compensation Commission in Sydney and will take effect from the 31st of January at 4 p.m.
Well, now, have you any figure on the savings?
Yes, the council has lodged a deposit of $250,000 with the treasurer, and also have taken an insurance policy to cover losses in excess of $300,000 in any one accident.
I see.
So from those figures you can see that we have no firm idea of the saving at this point of time, but looking at those figures you can see that there's going to be a saving.
Be well over $100,000 in premiums, I should
easy,
imagine.
yes.
Well, now, will the consumer get any benefit from this, or will it just be saving
We
on
expect it
administration?
could be up to $200,000 a year in premiums.
And will this be reflected back to the consumer, or will it be just within administration?
Well, at this point, it will be within administration.
Is that specific warning to county councils?
Yes, yes.
It is a warning.
Oh, yes, it's a warning from the council, yes.
Has the county council at any stage considered going into the natural gas distribution industry?
Definitely not, no. No, definitely not. No way in the world.
You're only interested in electricity?
Only in electricity, yes.
Well, our natural gas has been held up as a great boon to the community. Can you see it as in any way as a competitor to electricity as a source of energy?
No way at all.
So you're quite happy with the report from the association?
Yes, we're quite happy with the report, yes.
Ray, we decided that the Leo clubs throughout Australia, as with the Leo clubs in our district, must be experiencing problems.
What type of problems?
Problems that are generally faced by community service clubs, keeping membership, the types of projects to run to raise money and to keep the young people happy within the club. We decided to bring the people together throughout Australia with the hope that these problems could be solved. We think we've got the numbers to do just that.
Well, this is the very first national convention with no precedent to go on. How did you go about organising such a thing?
We decided that the first convention should be a national, not a state. We don't have the clubs and we don't have the communication to have a state convention. From there, correspondence was set out throughout Australia asking if there was enough interest. There was. From there, it was only a matter of organising accommodation and the different entertainments that we've got.
Undoubtedly, Bill, I think it must do. We in the Ironworkers Union have always been concerned to see that the average union member plays a greater role in his union. We've always encouraged our members to participate in elections. We think that as a matter of general policy, union members should be encouraged to participate in their union ballots. They should be encouraged by virtue of the rules of the union, making it convenient for them to vote. They should be encouraged, we believe, through legislation, providing the proper avenues through which they may exercise their vote without any suspicion of outside interference. And we in the Ironworkers Union make no apology for the fact that we do in fact advocate that union members should vote in their elections if necessary, that the union rules should provide that members of a union should be compelled to vote in its elections. We believe that as a result of greater rank and file participation in the election of the officials, that there is a lesser chance of minority groups which are unrepresentative of the views of the rank and file generally, controlling unions.
This is all ideal, but we've...
The students here are writing their own programs and running them through the mathematics department's mini computer, which is a PDP 1145. And we're trying out a new way of running these programs here. This is the first time this has been tried at this university, and it has been tried in Melbourne, but not very much in New South Wales. The method is that each student, as soon as he's written his program, he brings it up here, hands it to the card reader operator. The program is immediately read into the computer, and within a few seconds, the computer has worked out the answers, printed the output, it's handed to the student, and he immediately goes away and finds out the errors in it, corrects them, and comes back for another run, and he can do this several times in an hour.
So it's instant program check?
That's right, yes.
Miss Strait, you're dealing with symmetry mainly, as we can see behind us. To the layman, this is a bit strange. What's it all about?
Well, we're trying to classify regular patterns, and we picked the topic firstly because it's right away from anything they've done at school, and it's easy to explain. And secondly, because when you get into 3 dimensions instead of just 2, then you're thinking of crystallography, and that has a lot of applications in chemistry and physics, as well as being nice patterns to look at in 2 dimensions.
And this is basically an algebraic subject?
Yes, and geometry.
Not really, because they do have a useful role. They are, in the general sense, used by people responsibly. They provide temporary relief. They don't have to go to a doctor and wait in a surgery, get a prescription to have some form of alleviation provided. But the moral question is one that is of great importance, that people should have, on one hand, readily available to them products such as a wide range of mild analgesics, but at the same time be informed of the dangers they risk should they overindulge in them.
So what, you're planning an educational program now, are you?
Yes, and the association would be most anxious to promote a consciousness in the community, and particularly in the Newcastle community, and I hope a lot will flow from the discussions with Dr. Nanra today, as to what best can be done. Nothing worse than putting something under the counter, limiting availability, because the more difficult it is to obtain many things, the more people will try to obtain them.
They're watching this very carefully out here. And it's sort of intent on pushing over and coming far more westerly than they are, and doing dreadful things to Queensland beaches and the Gold Coast. The breeze is quite you see the flag flat off the chimney stacks. You know, you might be able to look over, it's a little steadier. You'll notice the craft going by. Normal times, not today of course, but in normal times, this high pressure area would be right with the way to the main developing front shore, around the perimeter of the island.
Well, this year we're presenting them with a completely new series of ring attractions in particular. We're spending thousands of dollars on free ring attractions this year, which are completely different to what's ever been seen in Newcastle before. We are bringing back the Moneros, the 4 Monero cars from Queensland, and we've got the perennial fireworks coming back, which all the children like. But our new attractions include a pop concert, country and western style, featuring Johnny Ashcroft. On 2 nights, we're running Rodeo on 3 nights.
We've got a magnificent sheepdog display, in which these sheepdogs were geese as well as sheep. We're putting on a dressage demonstration, and we've got a few other things up our sleeve yet. But we've got a situation whereby people, we feel now, can come in, pay their entry fee, walk around the ground, have a look at a lot of the other attractions, and then sit in the grandstand and watch 3 or 4 hours of very good first-class free entertainment.
Just a prediction, is Newcastle show getting bigger and going from strength to strength, or, like some people say, dying?
Well, we hope it's going to get bigger. We put together a vastly different program than in previous years, and I guess we'll find out when the people of Newcastle come to see it.
Oh yes, Bill, there's been quite a lot of changes, particularly in the postman's area, where they've improved in their, not only in their salary, but in their conditions of service. Their hours they work are shorter, no Saturday, no public holiday work, better uniforms and much better penalty conditions.
And better pay? Better
Pay, yes. They're up in the tradesman's level now, where one time they used to be just above a labourer's rate.
Well, so much for the men working on the job, but how about the public who are paying the money? In the time that you've been mixed up in the service, have you seen any improvement or any deterioration?
Well, Bill, the mail service itself has deteriorated to a shocking degree because of the monstrous centralising of the mail in the Sydney Mail Exchange. I've been in the department for 34 years, and I've seen the good service go back to where we're worse now than we were in the old pony days. It takes 3 days to get a letter from Sydney to Newcastle, and this is disgusting.
And what can be done about it?
Well, the only answer is they must decentralise and get back to sorting the mail out in the areas itself and get away from that monstrous Sydney Mail Exchange.
Well, it looks as though the money we're paying, we're not getting any service for it.
You're not getting the service you should be getting. I don't think 18 cents is too dear for a letter compared to the old days, how much it used to cost in the beginning, providing you get the service. But if you're not getting the service, well, 18 cents is far too high.
I would have brought back all the families I stayed with and lots of the people that I knew and my friends. And
You really had a marvellous time?
yeah, I really had a marvellous time.
You went to school over there, I understand?
Yeah, in the class that goes, which is equivalent to the sixth form in high schools in Australia.
And English-speaking schools or Danish-speaking schools?
No, Danish-speaking schools, of course.
How did you get on?
Well, the best way to learn a language, you find out, is to go and learn it the way, by just speaking it. And everyone speaks Danish. After 3 months, you've really caught on to the language.
Can you give me a bit of Danish, like it's really nice to be home again? Would you say that for me in Danish?
Yeah. Det er dejligt at være hjemme igen.
Marvellous. Your costume looks lovely. Would you like to tell us about it? What is it?
Yeah, well, this was a Christmas present just before I left for my first and last Danish Christmas from my second host family. I stayed with 2 families in Denmark. And my mother had sewed it, and it's the woven wool that they've woven on in the old fashion of spinning wheels and things. And the black and the white part, this is from Forster, which is the island I was staying on when I was staying with my first family. And this apron comes from Lolland, which was the island I stayed on with my second family. And as you know, Denmark's a lot of little islands. And I stayed on the 2 islands called Lolland and Forster, in a town called Nørkøbing Forster. And this one hat is from an island up near Frederikshavn called Læsø. And this is the hat which my mother was in her national costume, my second host mother.
You want to go back?
Yeah, I really do. I wanted to come back to Australia just to see friends for about a week and then go back to Denmark and live. But I think it's a bit hard to study in Denmark.
You find yourself a boyfriend over there?
A little bit. We weren't supposed to.
Well, firstly, my advice would be to stop out of the water.
if we have a shark in the surf, people will not venture into the surf. And it's strange that we have blue bottles, and so many blue bottles have been washed in with the easterly winds and northeast winds blowing, that people should stop out of the surf if they don't want to be stung. But to treat a sting, firstly, after being stung by a blue bottle, the cord on the end of the blue bottle is the actual thing that stings a person. Should be removed as soon as possible, and be very careful when removing it, because it can sting again, and it can curl around your hand or touch other parts of the body, and therefore sting again. But calamine lotion, I feel, is about the best, well, it's not a cure, but it will assist or help the sting go away, give ease to the person. But any sting about the face area or anywhere around the neck or chest can be very serious, and my advice would be to go to a hospital or to a doctor to receive pain-killing injections.
It's called Goodwill Anonymous and was established right over there in 1875 by the Brown and Marshall family. Now, in the beginning, the charity mainly operated throughout the Cooks Hill area, and over the years the membership grew to 174, but now it's back down to 3. But of course the charity can claim the distinction of being probably one of the longest running charity organisations in world history, and strangely enough, at the moment, Goodwill Anonymous is being run by the great-grandson of the original Mrs. Brown. Now, Goodwill Anonymous lays its ground rules right alongside those of the Holy Bible, helping those in need when those in need least expect to be helped. And as we told you a moment ago, Goodwill Anonymous is just that, anonymous. And in their appeal to help to us today, the organisers of the charity ask that we do not reveal their identity. What sort of a building are you particularly looking for?
We would like a place, if it's possible, around about 60 or by 20, so we could store our stuff and continue to go on helping folks as we are now.
Just how desperate is your need for another
I
building?
don't think words can describe it. We have to get out, I say, within the next, or we have to leave here within the next approximately a couple of weeks. And the rest of the time will be taken up moving all the stuff to whatever location we get, if we get one. And the desperate need is really desperate. When I say desperate, I mean it.
Why do you like to remain anonymous?
Well, it's been the name of the organisation since its inception. It's founded on the principle of the Bible, and we wish to remain that way.
But if you're an anonymous organisation, how do you get your contacts?
Well, we have a grapevine system. I think it's second to none in the country.
Go on.
And I think it's the most efficient thing we've ever had, because we get to know things that a lot of people in other respects would never get to know.
So if I was a destitute person and I didn't know about you, you would find me?
That's how our grapevine operates. It's marvellous the way it does, but it does operate most efficiently.
So, and I wake up one morning and I find a parcel of goodies on my front porch. How do I know where they're from?
Well, you don't, and that's the reason why it's called Goodwood Anonymous. You don't know it's put there, and we don't wish you to know who sent it there.
You don't leave any calling cards?
No calling card, just maybe a quotation on top from the good book.
How's that? I won't pour too much. Chris? Thanks, Alan. I get it,
This is a Jet Age Plus Surf Lifesavers view of the beach. And here's the man who'll be piloting Newcastle's surf lifesaving helicopter. John, what are the particular hazards to be mindful of?
There's really no particular hazard. It's a matter of everybody knowing their job and doing their job without any hitches. I can't really think there's any particular hazard. It's just another operation that helicopters happen to perform rather well and with no problem.
You're not actually a lifesaver, are you?
No way. I wouldn't be dangling on that rope for anything.
Have you ever had any very difficult moments when you've been plucking someone out of a boiling surf?
A lot.
Now, you're talking about the Jet Age Rescue Service, and yet we're still launching surf boats. How are the two going to correlate to each other?
Well, we still need the man on the beach as much as ever before. In fact, the man on the beach now become more important, but what he needs is to be more mobile. And to be more mobile, we have these helicopters, we have the power boats, the IRBs, the radio network, and to link the whole lot in. Now, a man on the beach will still probably perform 90% of the rescues, but there's always a one or two difficult rescues, which sometimes is beyond his capacity.
I was surprised to hear that more than half the missions flown by the helicopters have been away from surf. What types of things do they do?
Well, mainly we get a tremendous number of calls from police for boats lost at sea or distress signs being sighted, asking that can the helicopter go and investigate. Also small boats broken down, motors finished, and a lot of cliff rescues.
We went around, assessed the situation, landed the helicopter onto the beach. From there, we took our respective positions in the chopper and on the line. We went up onto the cliff face and we picked the young fellow from the cliff face and then brought him back down onto the beach.
Is this the sort of thing you've been training for, or have you been concentrating on surf rescue?
Oh, no. We have an all-round sort of training. We train in the cliff rescues. We were prepared for this at all stages of our rescue, for the cliff rescue, the surf rescue, and rescues from the lakes with boating accidents, etc.
Well,
It's a heartbreaking thing to see the horses go. And that's my honest opinion.
They go on Tuesday.
Yes.
You're pretty attached to this fella, aren't you?
This horse I'm very attached to. I hate to see the fella go.
Where's he going to go, Wilf?
A chap in Sydney's bought him, but he'll be well looked after where he is going. Because he's a good horse.
How old is he?
16.
Can you tell us a bit about him?
His name is Jip, and he's never done anything wrong in his life. He's always been, one of the family. He'll follow me all over the yard, and if he knows I've got a carrot in me pocket, come here, he won't leave me. He's just like a dog. Wait, whoa.
What about your holidays? I believe that's very hard for you too when you have to go away for a couple of weeks. Do you happen to sneak back and see them at all?
I sneak back of a night just to see that they're right. Get up. Ready? Get up. Come up, Jip. Get up.
You know, as we move from one day through to another, we seem to be confronted with so many things. Newspaper headlines displaying the tragedy across the world, the loss of a loved one, and of course there's the birth of a child. The wealthy living it up in places which, goodness knows, most of us wouldn't have even heard of. And then of course there's those of us who just can't get a job. But no matter what colour or creed or race you're from, I don't think you'll find a more heartening sight than an old man and a very small little girl. It just does something to you. And on this Christmas Eve 1975, we thought we'd like to leave you with this.
This is going on the news, is it?
What time did you have him?
21 minutes past 12.
Was it a little bit of pre-planning on your part?
Oh, no, not really.
Didn't hold your breath for a while?
No, definitely not.
Was he a difficult baby to have?
No, not at all.
No problems?
No, no problems.
How heavy?
7 pound 4 ounces.
You can have any more?
Yes.
Next New Year's Day?
No, not so close.
You've got another little boy or a little girl?
Little girl.
What do you call her?
Nicole.
And this one's Craig.
Yes.
Did you ever really think that you'd be a famous mum on New Year's Day?
Definitely not.
Well, there's another lady in Sydney who had triplets. I think 2 were born at 5 to 12 and 1 was born at 5 past. Yours was 21 minutes past 12. How would you think you'd have felt if you'd have had 3 at once?
I died.
Can you just let's have a bit of a look at him? He's sleepy little bloke, isn't he?
Yes, isn't he? Oh, heavens. Oh.
Fantastic.
What did you feel when you were told that you were to receive an award?
Oh, I got a big shock. I didn't expect anything like that. But I felt the honour of it, certainly. But not anything I had ever looked for. I never looked for honour. I just tried to work for the sick in the state that God had called me to.
Have you had many calls, many congratulations today?
Not very many so far, but I will have others later, I know. But, so my interest is still in the dietary department. I'd love to see it advance.
I don't think you could take yourself out of there after 54 years.
No, it'd be hard to give it up. And I would like to see it still advancing.
500 metres out of Glendurrell is the leader. Wakers goes up on the outside. No strings under heavy pressure. You're on the outside. Sam I am coming on well and Meadow Youth is under heavy pressure. Glendurrell the leader up to 200, but now Wakers joins him. And it's Glendurrell giving Glenn coming down the Wakers and now Glendurrell is running better. Glendurrell is running on the about 2.5 left to Wakers. Third left below the lead back and left below by Sam I am. Meadow Youth the fair way back, no strings.
Half-length to Classic Quarter, length and a half to Marty third on the inside of Bonsai. They're followed by Scott Surprise Racing, 3 horses wide, a length and a half then to Croster on the inside of Princess Day.